Hello, we're back again with one of our videos, and this one is relating to problems on the canal, but mainly the embankment breaches, because they tend to be absolute disasters. And I've got to be honest, the north of England at the moment, well, for a while now, is absolutely terrible for things going wrong. Really, it's baffling. But I do know there's problems in other parts of the canal network. I'm not that naive, but I want to talk particularly about up in the northern areas. And I know, like, the Leeds Liverpool's had loads of issues, the Macclesfield Canal, and the Lancaster as well. But I want to talk about 5 major breaches in the northern regions of the canal network. And it all came to a head this when I saw what happened on the Llangollen. And it was horrible. It was an horrible thing to happen. And I've put aside a few things, but in the scheme of things, there was only 2 boats were ended up on the bottom, in the chasm of the canal, with dire consequences to them. The third boat, there's no denying they had a horrible time, but apart from the not being on the boat for a few days, nothing else really of note happened. And it was more like a near miss, that one. So I wouldn't say that was part of the catastrophe. The catastrophe was down below. They were just on the silt, lucky enough. I know they were overhanging a bit, but at the end of the day, it was known as a near miss. There's no denying about that. And now that boat has been blacked and solar panels are back on board, and it's cruising again round the canals. So I think I'm right in what I'm thinking there. But that's by and by for now. It's just something what I would think people need to be aware of. Anyway, as we continue, the Llangollen Canal disaster area absolutely is, but it's not unique. It really isn't, because we've been, should we say, boating for many years and seen a lot of things. I think we can talk a bit about this with a bit of confidence and a bit of knowledge, and I think that's what could make this interesting for people to view. So, in a nutshell now, this video is going to concentrate on a certain area, and you'll see that coming up, and it will be about the northern canals and how many problems we've had. So we'll move on to the map and you'll see what I mean. We have had 5 major embankment breaches. We've had other things just like other places, and there's canals like the Rochdale and the Huddersfield Narrows and all that closed for fun. But I'm going to concentrate on these 5 breaches, what have cost a fortune to be repaired. Yes, it's all very, very sad. And the thing is, what makes it a bit more unique for us is we've been to all 5. Now, that being said, I won't get back to the ins and outs of this particular video, because I think it's important, and there's some surprising things what you'll see. It surprised me a bit, and besides us doing it, it's a bit of a bringing back the memories as well for us. Some of them, some things happened. There wasn't really much publicity, and even though we were there, we weren't taking pictures or anything. And these vlogs, what people do now, didn't really exist in the way they are now. So I've tried to put things together in the best way I can with the information I've got and the photographs and some basic footage as well. But I think you should find this interesting. I'll go through the five major embankment breaches that we've been involved with. And I'm not ruling out the rest of the country because we know what's going on, but the embankments, when you know they're high up, they always tend to be major if they go. When you look at it like that, doesn't it look weird? It seems to be concentrated in them spots for the major disasters. Now that costs millions and millions of pounds to repair. Absolutely does. But some people are under the illusion that all the money comes from private organisations, etc., to help the Canal and River Trust out. But that's not really true. Everything, what happens for maintenance or problems we've got on the canals, comes from a pot, and that pot is topped up. But it can't be for one particular thing, or if it is, it's to the detriment of somewhere else. So it's spread out and diluted, no matter what. I think I've seen something on a YouTube video once, what said that one of the breaches was paid for totally by private concerns, but that's incorrect, 100%. We need to help out a bit more, or personally I think that. I know we've got, should we say, different people and different organisations who look at it differently, but the genuine boaters who want to adhere to the rules properly and move around on the canals, you know, if you've not got an own mooring, that's what you're supposed to do. But sadly there's some who think they shouldn't move and contribute very little. Well, that's just the way it is. But I have some suggestions further down the video about things which I'll get to. But I just opened it for all what's happened at the Llangollen, because it's different now. We've seen all 5 breaches, right? We've been to each one on the 5 breaches we're talking about. Some of them we filmed years ago a little bit. Some we've just been and had a look, because we don't film everything where we go and that. And the Llangollen was overkill anyway, so I didn't need to film and show you the same things as another 10 videos previously have. But you know, we see all these issues, and we'll show you quite a lot shortly. But I do hope, and this is I just hope it is right. The thing is, we've seen numerous people vlogging about the Llangollen breach, etc., and there's a lot going on with all that, and some of it was good, some of it was bad, some of it was far too dramatic. Really, it really was. But I hope the people who did all that are genuine, and that'll relate to something I'm talking about later as well. Have genuine concerns, and they're not just obsessed with the usual with YouTube, which is views, likes, comments, Patreon, and buy me a coffees and all that. That's what a lot of people are obsessed with, which we are not. I hope there's a lot of genuine things there, and they're not thinking about the channel stuff, because I think it's that event surpassed all that for me, and I think we need to think long and hard about things. You know, YouTube, bit weird at times. I know I do some, but I don't do it for any particular reason. It's a hobby. But I think about things, and I'm passionate about things, particularly to do with canals. as is Bernadette as well. I think the first one I'm going to start with, because this was in British Waterways days, this. We're going to 2004. We were there then. You know, all these vloggers and all that, they were a long way off coming boating, so they don't know all what's gone on over the years like we tend to do. But we moored near where this breach was. And I'm going to talk about this first of all. This breach caused absolute bedlam, it really did. It was a big one, and lots of boats were stranded for quite a while. Not a couple of days, but quite a while. And British Waterways did things a little bit differently. But it all comes down to, can you believe this, those who've never heard, but badgers caused this breach. They were obviously burrowing and they got a bit near, should we say, near the sides, and it went completely, and it was massive, about 40 metres wide, and there was millions of gallons, 10, 11, 12 million gallons went into the fields. An house was flooded, a car was completely covered by all the water, and it was a bit of a catastrophe and did affect all the businesses around there as well. And it was bad, it really was. We can remember, you see, we've got some stuff to show you, which I hope you appreciate how we've done well to get it, to find all this information for 2004. But this is British Waterways. Now, first of all, these embankments, it's amazing how they've stood for so long. You know, puddling clay and the sand and clay. Puddling clay, by the way, is what they use at the bottom of canals for years because it's supposed to hold the water in. But as you know, it's clay, and it's not the most solid of things, but it seems to work, or in most occasions. Perhaps the canals now are getting to a critical stage. The Llangollen as well, when we first went on the Llangollen in '76, and quite a few years after that, they didn't have pilings, or very few. You know, everybody uses pilings now and thinks you put chains on. No, it was pins all the way, you know, when we first started. But we didn't seem to have as many issues. I don't know. But pilings started to appear, and the pilings what were put in were very, very thin and short. And I'm going to come to that more later, but that can have a bearing on things, because the pilings now, 40 and 50 years they've been indoors, and they were only thin ones and not the strongest, but it cost a fortune to do it any other way. Now, this breach happened, and like I said, boats were stranded everywhere, and they didn't have these cofferdams then, so a big stretch of canal from near the bridge at Bettersfield, that's on the Llangollen Canal, it's a small hamlet there, Bettersfield. It's a bridge there to a place called Hampton Bank. There's a bridge up that end. They were obviously planked off, and that big area was dry. And they did well, really, you know, considering that's how they had to do it then. But all that water, off it went into the fields, and yeah, it was a mess. How did they go about repairing this? Well, this is how they did it in 2004. Now, we've not got the greatest photos, but I've got some photos and footage, like I said, and they used really, really strong piling. Not the short 6 foot, 8 foot pieces, but 30 foot high pieces. And the machines come and bedded them straight in for strength, and put them all in on two sides of the canal. Quite a long area, on a bend it was, and they did it for quite a while on either side. And they did it all, and it was, I thought it was a good job at the time. Well, I still do think it's a good job. I think it's a great job what they did. So all that was done. All the contaminants had to be cleared in the fields. Obviously you can't leave all that in the fields. All that had to be done as well. But I'll just tell you all that work, because it was significant. Like I said, it was done, the breach. That work cost £500,000 in 2004, and it was done, up and running again, in 3 months, which I think was good going. Now remember, this is British Waterways now. They did use contractors, but not on a scale that they do now. But they got that done in 3 months at 500,000. And I'll put the exact figure in as I'm going along, whether it's here or in a summary. But that's less, in today's figures, that's less than, I think it's about £950,000 to do that work. And that's how they did it, and got everybody up and running again, like I say, in 3 months, 12 weeks. Pretty good, that, isn't it? But I just thought that's one. That's one. And I'm going to talk now very, very quickly, because I don't think there's much you can say about it, because you don't get all the information. The Bridgewater breach was massive, absolutely massive. Again, contamination everywhere, and that needs clearing. And of course that canal's wider and deeper, and they had cofferdams then. But you know, such a wide canal and deep canal, cofferdams, they're subject to, you know, they can be start leaking again. And I think that's why they've changed to earth dams as well, to put it to make it safer. And that's going to be a massive job, but you don't hear too much, because that's owned by Peel Holdings, or the Bridgewater Canal Company, which is a part of Peel Holdings, and they have a different contractor than CRT, and they're a bit less coming with information about costs, etc. But they've said to December 2026 it will be done, but that'll be getting on for 2 years. But there's not much you can talk about. You just know that that's a huge job, and I can't wait for that to be fixed, because we loved going up on the Bridgewater up there. Exactly where the breach was is where we used to moor on a regular basis over the years. It's a lovely place, and we used to go to the Swan with two nicks. The only problem with the Swan with two nicks, there was a bit too many dogs in there. I think they took priority over the people. Well, that's another story. So the Bridgewater, we can't get to know too much, but it's massive, and you know, it's going to take time to be done, but it will be done. But I dread to think at what cost. So I've covered them two, and I'm going to go on to two more in a minute, and I've got some facts and figures I'd like to give you as well. But I'm getting a bit dry, so I better go and get myself a cup of tea, and I'll get back to you soon. Right, back here again now, refreshed. We're going to move on to a really significant breach, which did have a bit of coverage on the TV as well, and that was at Dutton, or Dutton Hollow as it is known, in 2012. That was absolutely huge, it really was. And again, everything went into the fields and caused a lot of damage, because once it's contaminated, that field, you know, you can't do anything with it unless it's cleared, and that takes a lot of time. Now, this was Canal and River Trust now, and they had contractors involved. And the thing is, this particular breach now was done totally different than what British Waterways did that significant breach on the Llangollen in 2004. completely different. I know it was bigger, but the way they did it was just chalk and cheese, to be honest. And I'll try to get through a lot of information here. The first thing with this one in 2012, the blame was put on very, very heavy rain, washing away the embankment. It all got sandy and that, and just took everything. That's what they said it was, Canal and River Trust. Heavy rain caused that, nothing else. I don't know if it ever rained heavy on other occasions, but that's what they said, and we have to believe them. But that one was estimated to take, by the contractors, I think it was 5 months, and it took just over 7 to get it done. And that needed a lot of work as well, and I'll just get the figures to show you. It was estimated that 29 million litres went into the field at this breach. That's a lot. And again, boats were stranded in places. You know, it's not uncommon, like I said. And this repair cost, in 2012, around £2.1 million. But if it was in 2026, and I'll have a look here. Yeah, I'm writing what I thought I was wrong at first. But if it was done now, it would £3.6 million to do the repair. There was a completely, I think it was 140 metres of new canal towpath had to be done. There was 12,000 tonnes of stone and other materials to make it like a drainage system, the towpath, so it couldn't happen again. So it is absolutely massive. The drainage must mean it would be dispersed rather than washing away. That's just the modern way they've done it. It's all the same with embankments, they have come up with something. And also there was going to be special linings put on the base of the canal. And like I said, I've got as much information as I can, and I hope you've seen them going along. And it was just a huge undertaking. And like I say, you have to make, you know, it's getting access and making roads and getting permission where you go to take all your stuff. It all takes time, and it takes time to work it all out. But that breach, like I say, took 7 months to do it in the way you can see in this video as I'm going along. So that was a lot more expensive and a totally different way of doing an embankment, because the one at Llangollen in 2004, that was also an embankment, not as high up, but it still was one, and makes you wonder with the differences, doesn't it, and costs. But that's the Dutton breach one, and like I say, that was massive. And I think the year later, where they put it up to the canal further up on the Trent and Mersey, that started to leak as well. So they had to make they had to stitch it back together at one point to, and that involved all the draining and all that to do it. And they had to do a repair there to make certain nothing more catastrophic happened. That's another part about another embankment breach in the north of the country. Now we come up to another major breach which did receive quite a bit of TV, you know, because there's a few people, including ourselves as well, managed to get some footage. But we did it for our video, I'm not did it for any other reasons, and we got it out there. But that was another big one there. But this time a different reason for why it happened. And the reason this time, they don't know whether it was vandals or just somebody who was incompetent using the locks or whatever. But along that stretch on the Middlewich, there's no like water off points, you know, where the water can go or anything like that if it's getting a bit too high. So Stanthorn Lock, the paddles were left open, so you basically had the water shooting through, coming through at pace into that stretch of canal. And what happened there, or this is what they said, was it overtopped. And when it overtopped, it washed the towpath away. Now, luckily, and this is the lucky part, below it was a river. Not a big river, but, you know, a fair-sized one, which took a lot of the water with it. Plus trees, etc., went down there as well. But that did help. But the breach itself, again, was a huge one. Absolutely massive. And there was a man who lived, he was a 66-year-old man at the time. He lived permanently on his boat. He had a near miss. My God, did he as well. He just missed the breach. He was more. It was a bit of an iconic sight when you went there and looked at it. And because of the position where it was, that man had to be housed somewhere, or I can't remember where it was. But his boat was there for 2 months before it could be rescued, because they had to make pathways and, you know, roadways for a crane, etc., to lift his boat up and move it away. So that was a long time to be without his boat. I must be honest, I never saw it again. I used to see that boat around, but I don't recall seeing it much when it was rescued as such. I don't know whether he packed in or he moved to another location. That part I don't know. But they used cofferdams here because they were in vogue, as they say then, to help things. But first of all, they still had to drain everything off from Stanthorn Lock down to I call it, or most people call it, Maureen's Lock. That area was drained down. But then it was quickly all, the boats were still there. They were there for a while, not 8 weeks, for a few days, quite a few days. They was there, all the stranded boats, all at various angles and everything, which like I say, happens. And they got the cofferdams in, but what a sight that was with all that gone. And that was estimated to take around 7 months to do, but that took 9. And at the end of this video, I want to show you something which has come from the Canal and River Trust archives, which shows you how involved it is to do repairs on these embankments and why it costs so much. Now, I think this one was 3.1 million in 2018 to repair, and in today's money it'd be just short of 4 million to do the same repair. Costs don't half go up, and it particularly since COVID, and it's not half got money going up, you know, for get things done. Just before we continue, the amount of money it costs to repair things and how much it's gone up over the years is absolutely incredible. But what's happening in 2027 and then for the next 10 years is a reduction in funding for the Canal and River Trust from the governor, or the department called DEFRA, and in real terms it's around 40%. So it's massive, and there's a significant risk of us losing canals. There really is. Now, I know there's groups on the canals who detest everything to do with the Canal and River Trust and have their own agendas. They don't want to move, you know, unsociable, and causing problems. They are around in groups, and it's significant, the amount of people who are like that. There's no denying it. But that doesn't help the Canal and River Trust, and it's because of some of them ongoing issues that the way the Canal and River Trust are approaching the canals, things are going to change, and they're going to change a lot. And those people who don't pay a licence, dump things on the towpath, dispose of the toilets incorrectly in various ways, that's all bad, and that's why the Canal and River Trust are going to be altering things accordingly. Now we've boated for a long time, like I keep saying, and I'm seeing it all from, I've seen it through the years, how it's changed and that. And I know there's plenty of people who detest the Canal and River Trust, but you've got two choices. You either say to yourself, I need to do something, or just realise that things will gradually close down, and it won't be as brilliant to be on the canals as what it has been. So I have a suggestion here, and I know some people will hate it, but I would think if you love our canals, have a think about making a donation, contribution to the Canal and River Trust. They need it. For example, the licence, what we all pay, the boaters, is only a small amount as far as income goes. It really is. It doesn't cover everything. It's got to come from other areas. And with this funding cut what's coming, it's like I say, people who can afford to need to help out. And that's the general public who are lucky enough to be able to use the networks, the canal towpaths and that for nothing. And also the hire boaters as well. Think about it when you're out there enjoying your holidays. And then there's the rest of us boaters as well, who the ones who really enjoy the canals. Make a contribution. That's a decent thing to do. Doesn't have to be a fortune. Every little helps. The other thing I was thinking, I know I don't do, me and Bernadette don't do our videos. We don't put them out all the time, and we're not driven by doing stuff. We have no inclination to be like that. I love doing the videos, and they'll continue doing, as and when we've got time to put them out there. But there's a lot of fellow boaters who do the vlogging, and some get significant numbers of people watching. Why do they not put out there to support the CRT? Put something out there like I'm doing now. Use your audience and see. I can't understand why it's as though people are scared of saying anything. They don't do it. Perhaps they're scared of losing a few subscribers or upsetting viewers and not getting enough views and stuff like that. But if you're genuine boaters, promote the donations on your channels. I think it's important, and we've got to make an effort, because if we don't, you won't be vlogging, because there won't be anywhere for you to go to do. That's just a little thought I had. I don't think there's anything wrong with saying that, and it doesn't exclude everybody else who uses the canals as well. Every little helps. It really does. Now, I've had my little say there again. No doubt there'll be a few who think, oh, I'm not doing that. But perhaps it's pricked the conscience of a few people, and they may say, yeah, something needs to be done. So I'll leave that now, and I'll go on to another little part now, which I just find incredible. It just wonders where priorities are in this world. We do have we do have a change in society. We really do. I'm glad I'm only part-time social media and don't live it. I couldn't live social media. I'll just keep happy as I am and just doing the bits without any pressure. I'll leave the pressure to the rest. But yeah, we'll carry on, and I hope you find the rest of this video enlightening, to put it mildly. I know that can be a bit controversial with people, but like I said, if you like boating, make a contribution. Surely we can't be in a position where those massive breaches at Dutton Breach and the one at Middlewich, when you're only getting around 1% coming from the general public as donations or boaters, that's just scandalous when you think about it. You know, I can't believe it. I'm sure a few pound a week from people would help, and I'm sure it'd be appreciated. But the way of the world is a bit weird at times, it really is. Anyway, I've covered that bit, and let's move on to the next part of this video. Right, we're back talking about this breach, what happened at Christmas 2025 on the Llangollen. Like I said, that canal has a lot of meaning to us. We can't just, like, you know, people come, do all whatever they want to do, the film, you know, people who do whatever, whether it's vlogs or whether it's the BBC or whatever, they come, they go, you know, and it's like forgotten about. Or not forgotten about, but it quietens down. At the moment, there's an investigation into what caused that. Now, where it happened, there's various things. I'm not going to try to say what's caused it, but it'd be interesting to find out when they do the investigations what did, or could they? It might be so much has gone that they can't say what caused it, but it's obviously had some sort of water ingress going up into that, you know, the area what's gone. There's different things what people have said. I do know for a fact there near where these boats were moored, they run engines in gear, which doesn't do the sides any good at all. But you see people running engines in gear. That could have weakened it. The actual piling, like I say, it's not the most, you know, strongest piling in the world. They could have rotted, or there's a gap and water's gone through, you know, and that slowly but surely washes away. There wasn't loads of rain, so you can't say it's going to be caused by too much rain. But you wonder whether all the dry weather has made cracks in places and all that, and the areas where water's been seeping through, because dry weather can do that as well. Once you've got it, once it's super dry underneath, then if it gets split with things, then water gets in and away we go again. It washes away. They're only guess. They're only, you know, I'm not trying to work out, but I am interested in what they think will have caused that particular catastrophe. Now, it's got some road access there, but they will still have to make roadways and all that for traffic, you know, for all the plant to come and do the repairs. And it takes time to do all that. It won't be fast, this. And yeah, it would do well if we're up and running October-ish this year, 2026. I think they'll have done well. But it's still all contaminated land there. It's got that funny bend, you know, where there's a lift bridge, sorry, it's a lift bridge, and the funny Whitchurch arm there, all that's got to be sorted out, because you don't know how weak all that area is now. And all that has to be investigated. It's no use doing that spot and then find out that it's travelled a bit further, you normally have to go way past where the breach is and strengthen it all. And it's going to take a lot of time. And like I say, all the contamination is there. And I know the Canal and River Trust will be trying the best to get this done quickly, because this is going to really, really impact businesses. And of course, there's all those boats who were trapped at the top section of the Llangollen. You ought to think about them as well. So it's quite an interesting time on the canals, because you don't know what's going to happen next. You really don't. I don't think there's anything else, but I'll have a look at my notes and I'll come back to you in a minute in case I've missed anything. And I know it's been a long video, but I thought I'd give you some of this information because I believe it's important, and people have to understand that they need, to donate. Why doesn't everybody just try to donate a bit if you can afford to? That's if you can give to people to do things, surely you can give a bit to the Canal and River Trust to go towards that. I hope at the end, because of all this publicity and all what went on, I hope at the end we're getting more than 1% of the money, from donations, because we've got to do something. Because if we don't, we can moan as much as we want, but if we don't, like I say, canals are going to close and we're going to lose some canals, and it'll never be the same. So if you can donate, it would be really appreciated. This is one of the times when I wish I had a huge channel, with and hundreds of thousands of people were watching. It makes me... I know the YouTube thing, how it works, and the algorithms and getting it out there and all that. But it amazes me when you see some of the videos what go out, what they're saying, and then you look at the views and you think, gee, why are you looking at that? Well, that's just a personal opinion. So as a one-off, if you don't mind sharing this to get people to donate, it would be great. It'd be great to get loads of views for that. But remember, ours isn't monetized, so if I got 25 million views, I don't get anything for that. No, I don't do it like that. I just do this because I'm passionate for the canals and I love making the videos. Anyway, I've gone on again, as I do. I'll stop for now and see if there's any figures I've forgot, and I'll get back to you shortly. Right, I'll just give you these figures now. The Dutton breach total donations came to £25,000. For the breach on the Middlewich, total donations came to around £30,000. And I just hope we get a lot better response for, from the public and organisations for the Llangollen. I really do, because it's monumental, that, and I dread to think what the final total will be. Well, that's by and by now. I've said all I'm going to say, and I thought finally the Middlewich breach, the Canal and River Trust had a camera set up, and some people may have seen it, but I suspect a lot haven't, and that gives you the beginning and the end of the repairs all on a time lapse. Now I've tried to make it a bit bigger, I've slowed it down a bit so you can see it a bit more. I don't want to slow it down too much, but I've slowed it down a bit, but you'll see how much work's involved. So have a look at that and then think it might be worth making a donation for the Llangollen. It really might be. We're all boaters together, and I think we should whether we continually cruise or like us, we have a home mooring. I think we all need to do our bit, really, and I hope we do. So I think we'll see that time lapse now, and then I'll have a final talk to you at the end. Well, I hope you found the time-lapse interesting. Shows you how much is involved there, doesn't it? Monumental. Anyway, I've said my bit, and I've done what I wanted, and I hope you look at it in the right way, and realise that I say what I say because I'm honest and open, and I'll say as I see it, and I'm not scared of saying the wrong things and losing viewers or out like that. I just want people who come across us to see some honest talking about these dreadful catastrophes, what are becoming more and more common. Anyway, I think next time we're back to a cruising video and a couple of other things in the pipeline. One I've not done yet, so I don't know when that'll be, but I've got one about why we had our boat built like we did, what we did, and why we would never ever change it for a new narrowboat in this present day. Basically, I've got one of them coming up as well, and also I'm installing some new gas detectors and some other safety equipment on the boat, but I've not even got there. I've got the equipment, but I think that will be done after we've had our boat out and had it epoxied again, and all the anode checked and replaced as necessary. Right, that is it now. Like I say, I hope you've enjoyed watching and you keep with us, and we'll see you very soon in the next one. Ta-ra!